Okay, so let's try to revise our long division. So this would be on. So before we start doing the questions on long division, could you remember the 5 steps that are involved? So you try to remember the 5 steps and you can pause the video while you try to remember. Okay, so if you remember the first step, so let's write it at the side here. The first step is to divide. The second step is to multiply. The third step is to subtract. The fourth step is to bring it down. And the fifth step is to do it again. So later we'll be trying out various problems for long division, and each of the problems will follow these 5 steps. Okay, so let's first start off with a very simple problem. So the first one, let's have we want to have 46 divided by 2. So when we do long division, remember, do we start with the number that's closest to the number that we're dividing or the one further away? So we always start with the one that is the nearest first. So the first step is to divide. So we will take 4 divided by 2. What is 4 divided by 2? So 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we write our 2 at the top. So remember, when we do long division, we always go from the first step to the 5th step. We always start from the top and then we go down. So now we're at the first step, so we start right at the top, which is 2. We put the 2 at the top. Second step, we want to multiply. What number do I multiply? Remember, we always multiply the numbers that are outside. 2 times 2 is 4. So I will write my 4 here. So remember, as we go down the steps, we will move down as well. My third step is to subtract. So what number do I subtract? I take my 4, I subtract 4, which will give me a 0. Okay, I'm done with my third step. Now let's go to the 4th step. The 4th step, bring it down. So now I have another number here. I will take this number, I will bring it down. Remember to draw your arrow. And after I bring it down, let's go to the next step, do it again. Do it again means I need to start from the first step again. So to do it again, I need to start from the first step, which is divide. So now I take what number I have left, which is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So remember, since I'm going back to the first step again, I need to start from the top again. So I write my 3 at the top. And then I continue with my steps. I have already divided. Now it's time for me to multiply. Similar to just now, I will multiply the numbers that are outside. So 2, I multiply by 3 because now I'm in my ones column. So I take 2 multiplied by 3, which gives me 6. So I put my 6 here. Remember, we are going downwards again. After I get 6, now my third step, I need to subtract. So now I'm here, I take 6, I subtract 6, and I will end up with 0. So 46 divided by 2 is 23. So if I write my equation, I will get 46 divided by 2 is 23. 23 is my quotient, and my remainder is 0. So I don't need to write a remainder at the back. Let's try a different question. Now let's do 39 divided by 3. So we're just going to follow the 5 steps again. First step, I divide. Should I start with my 3 or my 9? So remember, we always start with the number that is the closest to the number that we are dividing. So I will start with 3. What is 3 divided by 3? So the answer is 1. From the first step to the 5th step, I always start from the top, go to the bottom. So I start from the top, I'll write my 1 here. Okay. Second step, multiply. Remember, I always multiply the numbers that are outside. So 3 multiplied by 1 gives me 3. So I write my 3 below. Next step, I need to subtract. So I take 3 minus 3, which gives me 0. Okay, next step, bring it down. I take my 9, I bring it down, so I get 9 here. Next, I need to do it again. So I need to go back to the first step. So the first step is to divide. So now I have 9 left. My 9 ones, I need to divide by 3, which gives me 3. So since I'm going back to the first step again, I start from the top to go to the bottom. I write my 3 here. Next step, multiply. I multiply the number 3 by 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. So I will write my 9 here. Next step, I need to subtract. So I take 9 minus 9 to give me 0. So I have no other number to bring down as I'm already at my ones column. So I can stop here. Which means 39 divided by 3 is 13. My quotient is 13. My remainder is 0. So I can just write 13. What happens if I have a 3-digit number? So even if I have a 3-digit number, I still follow the same steps. Okay, so let me move this to this side so that I can put a 3-digit number here. So let's do 256. 84 divide by 2. So, how do I take 284 divided by 2? I always start with the number that's the closest. So it is my hundreds column. My 200s, first step I need to divide by 2. So that will give me 1. Okay, so I put a 1 in my hundreds column. And I start from the top as I'm at my first step. Second step, I need to multiply. I always multiply the numbers that are outside. 2 multiplied by 1 gives me 2. So I write my 2 below here. Next, I want to subtract. So I take 2 minus 2, which gives me 0. Okay, now my fourth step is to bring it down. So I'm done with my hundreds column. I bring the digit in the tens column down, which is 8. So now I have 8. Eight divided by 2, because I'm at my fifth step, right? Which is to do it again. So I need to go back to divide. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So since I'm at my first step again, I need to start from the top again. 4. I'm at my second step now. And since I'm in my tens column, I take 2 multiplied by 4. So 2 times 4 gives me 8. So in my tens column, I would write 8. Okay. Now, third step, I need to subtract. 8 minus 8 gives me 0. Okay? Now, I'm at my fourth step, bring it down. So if you remember just now when we had a 2-digit number, we only need to bring the number down once. But as you can see, here we are done with our hundreds column, we are done with our tens column. However, we have not done the ones column. So I need to bring the digit in the ones column down. Okay, which is 4. So I draw an arrow all the way down here and put my 4. I go on to my next step, which is do it again. So I start from the top, I go back to divide. Now I'm left with 4 ones. 4 ones, I divide by 2, it gives me 2. Next step is multiply. 2 times 2, because now I'm in my ones column, so when I multiply the digit that's in the ones column. 2 times 2 is 4. So I put my 4 here. Third step, subtract. 4 minus 4 gives me 0. My fourth step is to bring it down. Do I have any other digits to bring down? So if you take a look, I've already used my digit in the hundreds column, I've used my digit in the tens column, and I've used my digit in the ones column. There are no other digits after that, so I stop here. Which means my quotient is 142 and my remainder is 0. So if I were to write it in an equation, I would say 284 divide by 2 gives me 142. Okay, so we've gone through the steps for 3 questions. Now it is your turn to try. So let's try doing some questions on our own, and then we can check the answers. So first, let's do (63) divided by 3. Next, let's do 48 divided by 4. And let's try a 3-digit number as well. Let's try 246 divided by 2. Okay, so let's try these questions, and then you should pause the video here and check the answers later. Okay, so now let's go through the answers for each of them. Firstly, 63 divided by 3. Okay, I'm going to do this quickly as we've already gone through the steps just now. So first, I take 6 divided by 3, I get 2. Then I take 3 times 2, which gives me 6. I subtract, which gives me 0. And then I bring it down. So I bring my 3 down. 3 divided by 3. I get 1. I multiply 3 by 1, which gives me 3. I subtract it, and I get 0. Which means 63 divided by 3 is 21. Next question, 48 divided by 4. First, I take 4 divided by 4, which gives me 1. 4 times 1 gives me 4. I subtract it, get 0. Bring it down. Okay, then I do it again. 8 divided by 4, 2. 4 times 2, 8. 8, I need to subtract 8, which gives me 0. Which means 48 divided by 4 gives me 12. And last but not least, our 3-digit numbers. 246 divided by 2. First, I take 2 divided by 2, which is 1. I multiply 2 by 1, which gives me 2. I subtract, it gives me 0. I bring down my 4. Then I do it again. I go back to divide. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then I take 2 multiplied by 2, which gives me 4. Then I subtract it. I bring it down. Do it again. So I take 6 divided by 2, it is 3. multiply 2 times 3 is 6. Subtract 6 minus 6 is 0. So 246 divided by 2 is 123. Okay, if you need more practice, you can always go back and try the questions again by yourself. And then you can check the answers again to make sure that you got the correct working.